I've always said that being a film composer is the greatest job in the world as long as you have a job. And thanks to BMI, it's been a pretty good job when I didn't have one, too. I'm flattered and honored to receive it. I guess I've been pretty fast company with all the prior recipients of the award. So I'm excited and a little terrified. I looked at guys like John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith, and I thought that here's a part of the music business where age and wisdom and experience seem to be sought after. So that was part of what encouraged me to make the move. For the most part, the only instrument I really can play with any facility at all are the drums. So I like to hit stuff with a stick, and that's still how I make music. So if the film allows for it, I love pitch percussion stuff, and it still plays an important role. Well, the first one, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, was a big turning point because it was so successful, and it was my first film. And it was the first time I had an opportunity to call myself a film composer and keep a straight face. So that was a big turning point. Just ground zero for me was Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and getting the Grand Jury Prize at Cannes. And then I think maybe Solaris, because I never really took myself seriously, especially with handling an orchestra, until I did that. So that was another one that artistically was a turning point for me, or a high water mark.
Well, BMI, as your viewers probably know, is a performance rights organization, and it's international. And it's meant to my career what it's meant to, I think, the careers of every one of its members. And that is that they pursued the interests of music and monitoring the performances of it and disseminating it around the world and keeping track of what's done with it, not only during the composers' lives, but beyond. And they serve music in the way that the other great international performance rights societies do. And all musicians need to be enormously grateful. Our predecessors in other centuries had no such thing. They write a few notes and that would be the end of it. So we're very, very fortunate that this international copyright situation is respected by law in so many countries. A great step forward for artists. And it means, in terms of practical application, a great deal for every working musician that is fortunate enough to be a member of it. Well, the challenge to scoring for Lincoln was simply to offer some music worthy of the subject, worthy of the performances, worthy of the writing, and I can only hope that I've gotten it right and kept its integrity at a very high level. I hope so. I can't be the judge of that. But it was a thrilling experience, beginning with Doris Kearns Goodwin's great book and Tony Kushner's script. The whole experience was very, certainly elevating, John, and certainly different and more thrilling, I think, than the usual film assignment for a musician. It's hard for me to believe, John, that it's been 40 years. You know, it's like a marriage, I guess. The decades slip by, but it's been a wonderful collaboration. At the base of which is a wonderful friendship, and at least certainly I can speak for myself, I hope mutual respect. It's been a fantastic ride. He's a younger man than but I will try to keep up with him if I can.
BMI is what keeps us going, really, because it's like when everything else is falling apart, record companies, everything else that you're involved in the music world is scary and precarious. BMI is like the rock that we cling to. It's got different challenges to it, but I don't know. It's something. These guys have worked. How long have you worked with me?
Since '97. It'll be 60 years.
I've been since 2002.
Yeah. So we've been in the round building for a long time, working together, and animation's been part of our, part of what's central to our company. So we enjoy it. You know, it's totally different, though. You know that. You know, it's totally different than working with live.
I got very excited about the more I knew about BMI and the organization and the people involved, and I'm just very, very excited to be here. It's a brand new thing for me. There's a lot of music in a very short amount of time. And I also decided to do it just pretty much the way I do film. So we record with a live orchestra every week. We've got anywhere from 26 to 34 minutes of original music for orchestra every week. So it's a lot of bricks to be put in the wall. I think the challenge there was just finding the tone for Jackie and the story. And the problem was solved when we decided that the music should be all about Jackie. Not necessarily the travails that he goes through, but who he is, and therefore what it takes for him to do what he did.
You don't avoid repeating yourself. You enjoy repeating yourself, but you try and repeat yourself with something different every week. You try and it, you know as well as I do. First of all, after Bach, we took the sign and went back to the top, but I just try and add different textures this way or that way, and certainly, someone with more intelligence would probably be bored, but I'm not, so I honest to God, I like the challenge of grinding away on basically the same harmonic structure, but trying to find something different melodically or something different orchestration-wise or texture-wise, and that's where it's the small stuff that I get the challenge from.
BMI bought my studio. BMI, they've been great. I've been with them, 30 some odd years now. It's family, just family.
Well, very nice to be here. A great crowd, and love to see John Williams and Lalo Schifrin and Pat Williams. I'm working on a musical right now, stage musical based on an 18th century play I'm enjoying, and I'm about to work on a new ballet too for San Francisco, yeah.
There's such different shows that it's really not a problem, and they're both in their second and third season respectively now, so it's really differentiating the scores in the problem. The workload sometimes can get heavy, but I have a fantastic team that make sure all I have to do is write, and otherwise I'm pretty irresponsible outside of writing music, but I seem to be able to manage doing that. Well, I'm very fortunate to be able to do that, yeah. Revenge is actually live orchestra every week, and really the joy of that gig for me is being able to conduct an orchestra every week. And when things are done on such a compacted schedule, it's very gratifying at the end of the day to just be able to have them play your music for you. It's not like wrangling samples, it's not like nice, produced music and then that's the end of it. There is a session, and it's a very sort of cathartic thing, to be able to do that at the end of the week. And the musicians in this town, John, are fantastic. So I sort of feel like without them, my music's really just an idea. They get to bring it to life, and I'm super grateful for that.
You know what? The wonderful thing about my career, and I don't know how it ended up this way, is that I seem to get offered a lot of different projects in different fields. So to be able to go from a comedy like Identity Thief or Think Like a Man, and then hide out and do Revolution, which is a post-apocalyptic action swashbuckling something, is the best way to avoid writer's block. It's awesome, because I get to just go from one vibe to the next and really be different and eclectic, and it's great. It's really cool. Don't forget that you need to tell the story. I think that's the biggest advice, is that more than writing music, I love telling stories. And when I think about, I could tell you all kinds of crazy, silly stories about when I was in my basement and 9 years old, and I would walk in the tuxedo like this, but it was my dad's and it was oversized, and I would walk and I'd point it at the thing, pretending that I was the gun barrel shot from James Bond. But the music was always playing in those shots. So for me, it's all about, what do I do to tell this story? What do I do to help the director give their character life?
Well, the first thing is you just want to do some great music, and you hope people like the movie. And with something like Iron Man 3, the great director, everyone involved is awesome, but you don't know. We didn't test the film, we didn't know how audiences react. Recorded, I think, a score that we're all very proud of, but at the same time, you go in, you just don't know how people are going to react, and so we're really happy. yeah, it's right now doing insane business. This was a start from scratch. It was like this post-Avengers world with Iron Man, so we needed a real superhero theme. Before, he was kind of all rock and roll, and this one was like my tribute to the John Williams great heroic themes of old, you know, Superman, and even like Raiders of the Lost Ark, hummable tunes that you could have on brass and strings. So that's what I went for, a really old school kind of theme and melody, and see how it would work in today's market. And I think people like enjoy that kind of thing, being able to hum it and go around and feel like they're maybe Iron Man a little bit when they put the CD in, you know.
Well, I'm in season 6, and I'm about 5 episodes in, and I would say the whole show has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger in terms of story, and therefore the score has gotten bigger and bigger. And there's certainly a lot more music per episode in season 6 than there ever was in season 1. But it's it's continually blowing up that world of craziness and crazy characters. The Americans, Hemlock Grove for Netflix, which is one of their original series, a kids show. I just did The Big Wedding, which is the Robert De Niro, Diane Keaton movie, and then we're bringing True Blood to Broadway. So a lot of stuff going on, which is good.
Will you be involved in the Broadway version of True Blood?
I pitched it. It's my baby. Yeah. So
Now, does that mean you'll be writing original songs?
yeah, Lisbeth Scott and I have collaborated on a couple songs in the show. Are going to be doing that. So over the next couple of years. It's, as you probably know, it's a long process.
The theme song to a show called True Blood on HBO.
Great. And tell me, was that a licensed piece, or is that something you wrote for the show?
No, sadly, it's a licensed piece. It's an old record of mine that they picked up, and it's been great.
And has it brought sort of new life to the tune and the song?
It has. You know, I'm able to go. I've been to Australia and Norway, all over the world, playing that song, and another 20 or so, and it's opened a lot of doors. It's been great.
A little bit about
Escape from Planet Earth, I think, is in my top 3 best scores I've ever written. And I had 7.5 weeks to do 80 minutes, and it was a blast, but it was tough on the body. It was about 55, 60 minutes of pure action, just nonstop. But I had such a great canvas to paint on. Recorded it in London, 105-piece orchestra, about 4 days. I did it all in 4 days with Isabel over there.
Certain elements of it is that there's a tone, there's a palette that's set. So I think in terms of the producers thinking, how do we get through this? I think that we're aware that there are things that we can fall back on, but we try and not fall back on them. Each season has definitely, to my mind, just on a global basis, has its own identity. In terms of, are we looking for a slightly more comic score? Are we looking for something a little bit more drama-based and reflecting the relationships? So I think there's global things that we talk about at the beginning of the season, and we discuss, you know, overall this is a tone. Now, often we set ourselves up for a tone. I remember at the beginning of the 4th season, I remember talking about there's going to be a Tarantino-type flavor to this season, and it seemed to dissipate very, very quickly. I got a little bit of a guitar thing in there, and then we moved in another direction. But that's the joy of episodic TV, that every week is a new challenge, and every week is a chance to reinvent according to, you know, the constrictions of television.
Well, we have a neuroscientist who's on the verge of madness, and so there's a lot of synaptic propulsive energy that needs to be generated, and then we also have to accommodate whatever's happening in the story. So it's been a very challenging thing to try to, you know, handle his madness and also deal with a plot.
Right now I'm working on an album with Sweet Pea Atkinson, lead singer from Was Not Was for Blue Note. And I'm going to be working on my album next month through June and July. And I'm hanging out in LA for my last day of a 6-day trip. And that's what I'm doing.
The Mentalist has always been more of a human drama, and Patrick Jane's plight to find the people that killed his family. And Arrow it's a superhero comic book show, which I never have gotten to do and I've always wanted to do. So it's big and never stops and bold, and One's very electronic, one's very, The Mentalist is very electronic, and Arrow is very orchestral, hybrid-y type of score. I like to make a sound template for each show, so that if I'm writing, like I was this year, 3 series, I don't accidentally write something that sounds like one show and put it in the other. So I'll specifically, like you're asking about the show's differences, I'll make them sound different. And then even if I have a bad idea one day, it still sounds like the show. But that helps me move faster, because I can go, oh, what's the oboe sound I use in this show, and what's the piano sound I use in this show? So it's kind of preset.
I'm so grateful to be part of this community. We are like a big family, okay, a big dysfunctional family. But just like a real family, we're stuck with each other. And ultimately, we do stick together for the common good, for the shared losses, and through all the constant change. You know, this business is certainly evolving. Some see it as an expansive good thing, and some see it with growing sadness. But I guess reality depends on how you choose to twist the lens. And the one thing I know above all else is no matter what our differences may be, we all love music and we love the joy of creative expression.
We've been presenting the Richard Kirk Award for Outstanding Career Achievements for over 25 years. But tonight marks the first time that our Top Film Music Award goes to someone who is also in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Cliff Martinez is in many ways the face of film music in the 21st century. He came out of the punk rock movement, but he has an abiding love for jazz and a fascination for high-tech music making.
Cliff Martinez has never been guided by commerce or fear or, you know, the desire for any kind of fame and power or clout. You know, Cliff is guided by his muse, by his heart, by his love for art and music.
You know, he's a big rock and roll star and was one of the most influential, you know, rock groups in the last 20 years and so forth. So you would imagine some crazy man walking in. And in a way, it was like your accountant. But that's what makes him unique, is that what you see is something completely different than what you hear.
Cliff's amazing. He's like really, he's kind of quiet, very observant, super methodical. He's got a very kind of calm and interesting way about him. Something very zen about Cliff.
I'm pretty sure we met in 1987 in North Hollywood at a sound mixing facility. Cliff and Mark Mangini were working on a source cue for a movie, and I'd wandered into the studio and I heard this track and I thought the track was really interesting. And so a year and a half later, when Sex Lies got off the ground, and I was thinking of composers, and I thought, well, I know one composer, kind of. He hasn't really done a movie yet. But it seemed appropriate to have somebody get their break on the movie that I was getting my break on.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor we present the 2013 Kirk Award for Achievement to Cliff Martinez. Cliff Martinez.
I always thought that writing for films was the best job in the world. It seemed to me that as long as you met the basic requirements, dramatic requirements of the film through music, the sky was the limit. You could approach it in any way that you wanted. You could do it in any style you wanted, using any instruments you wanted. And all the directors that I've worked with have pretty much encouraged me to score their films in my own unique voice. So to be able to write the music that you really, really want to write, the music that you really love and get paid for it, is the best job in the world. As long as you have a job. And thanks to BMI, it's been a pretty good job. So I really want to thank BMI, Doreen and Ray, for standing by me all these years and enabling and encouraging me to continue on this kind of reckless, sometimes reckless career choice. I preferred working behind the scenes, where you still have to answer to an audience, but the people you really need to impress are your directors and your peers in the industry. So it's really a great honor to receive this award in front of you, my fellow composers, because you're the audience I fear and respect the most. You understand what it takes to be good at this. You understand the mysterious art of putting music to picture and can't be fooled. You know, one day you're doing something brilliant and the next day not so much. You have your good days and bad days, but today is a really, really great day, one that I'll remember for a long time to come. Thank you all for it. And I'm going to take this award and put it under my pillow, sleep on it for good luck. Thank you all, and good night.